trying to make something better every single time we go out.
Today I'm going to be talking about Mach Hommy, Balens Cho. And I think that translates into hot candles. Mach Hommy is an artist that I've been following for a while. Floor Seats is probably the first time I heard him. And I listened to Pray for Haiti, and he's been really prevalent on some of West Side Gun's projects. He's a member of GXFR. And another thing to note is he's a Haitian native, so that influences a lot of his music. This album kind of came out of nowhere. He doesn't do much marketing or advertisement, and he's been dropping pretty frequently. Since Balens Cho, he's also released Dollar Menu and Dollar Menu Part 2, which are also both really good, but this one stood out a little more to me, so I wanted to take the time to recommend this album. The first thing that's noticeable is he has these old-timey capitalist segments, like talking about Haiti and the exploitation of Haiti, and those are kind of truncated throughout the album. The first line that stood out to me is, "When we moved the snow off the stoop, we wasn't shoveling." That's just a good drug deal line. And I really like the trumpet trombone beat for that intro song. Not the intro sample, but the first song. And then Separation of the Sheeps and the Goats is one of my favorites on the album. It's one of my favorite tracks from this year, and it just has this really strong vocal loop. And one of my favorite lines on that is, "Out here you'll be lucky if you're a junkie or an alkie." And he just has really goofy, weird flows that are just really playful throughout the album, even though he's tackling some big themes. Magnum Band, rest in peace Razji, just one of the best on the 404 and on the boards in general, a great beat maker. I like that he's paying homage to Razji, even kept in his producer tag. And Mac just has a sinister flow on this. He's rhyming everything with like Frida Kahlo in the first segment of rhymes, and then he switches it up and he's rhyming stuff with like Doom Pasta. He has a line where he says, "It is with art and poetry that we shape reality," or that's what the sample at the end is talking about. And it has a reference to the African Space Program, which is a really cool group. Blast Off is my favorite from that group founded by Razji. Then we go into Lagensai, and sorry if I butcher that pronunciation. And this beat is like super loud and sharp. All the beats on this are really loud and sharp, but this one's extremely loud and sharp. And he's talking about if they're locked up, let them out. He's talking about freeing people from jail and different things related to that. And his flows are just always like this weird stream of consciousness, and they're always really delicate. It's like an old school like brain feeder flow, like something that you'd hear on like, I really would like to hear like if Mach Hommy was on like Captain Murphy or something, or like what he would sound on a Flying Lotus beat. Then we go into Wooden Nickels, and this is one of the longer songs. It's a slow piano, and he's speaking pretty clearly. He's talking about don't take no wooden nickels. He's talking about his family. I think this is about like his dad was helping a lot of people, and when his dad passed, none of the favors were carried over to him when he was looking help from the community that his dad had uplifted. So it's kind of like don't take wooden nickels from people. Be careful with your time. Then it goes into traditional, and he really has that like super dope low stretched flow over like a really cool like marching band type beat, like a war marching band. And one of my favorite lines on this is, "What happens when tradition ain't livable? They ain't like religion. They act like religion ain't biblical." What happens when tradition's no longer livable? They start acting like religion ain't biblical. That's a really good line. And I think that's relevant to nowadays. It's like tradition in society will break down naturally when you just can't live in those conditions anymore. When the wages and rent go up to a certain point, people just can't put up with it anymore. So it's not like they're lazy or like the people are changing. It's like when the traditions become impossible to live, people have to adapt. The next song is Money Magnets, and just another fantastic beat. I don't have too much to say about this one. And then the final track is Self Love. And this is the best beat on the album. It's done by Conductor. It's just fire vocal flip. Reminds me of like old school hieroglyphics. He's saying thank you to his organs and his lungs and his heart, and just talking about self-care. It's a pretty dope theme. Not something you see in a lot in rap. People talking about taking care of yourself. And like I said, I love the Razji shout out. I loved the delicate flows throughout. Mach Hommy is just a really unique, just left field rapper. You never know what you're gonna expect, and the way he interacts with and cuts his beats into his album is also very interesting. So that's all I have to say about that, but I definitely recommend Balens Cho, Hot Candles.